Wager Talk Today, Columbus Day, I guess. So there's some early action. Make sure you get in on those NHL games starting in about an hour. We're actually going to break one of those down with Brian Leonard here right off the top. A little free daytime NHL winner for you. But, of course, it is Monday Night Football as well. Ross Benjamin's going to take a look there. Also an advanced college football Tuesday game for both Ross and Brian Leonard. And then Andrew McInnis talking some more NHL. But it's Monday, so Teddy's got his BBBBBBB, and boy, was it bad for the books yesterday on Sunday. Lots of NFL favorites covering. Hope you took advantage of that and cashed in along with us at WagerTalk.com. This is Wager Talk Today. I'm Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez. He'll be back tomorrow on Trash Talk Tuesday, so don't you fear. In the meantime, I've got Teddy Covers with me as my co-host, and let's get right to it. It's a busy Monday, of course, because Teddy has opening line report less than an hour from now at the top of the 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific hour. Be sure to watch that live for a breakdown of next week's NFL games. But Brian Leonard, welcome to the show. We're going to talk some hockey and college football, but the favorites cashed in big yesterday in the NFL.
Yes, they did. And unfortunately, I had one play, and it was on an underdog. So obviously, didn't turn out well for me, but hockey's gotten off to a decent start, lost a couple of favorites, but underdogs have been great. And I am picking an underdog today for my first play. We got one of the games, as you mentioned, an early game. A little bit of line movement since I sent this in overnight is we knew Barkov was not going to play for Florida. He's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks, but Matthew Tkachuk is not playing. He's sick. And he will not be in the lineup today. So no Tkachuk and no Barkov for Florida. But that just gives us an extra 20 cents in line value. The Panthers beat the Bruins in opening night 6-4. Then they dropped back-to-back contests to get what we consider to be lesser teams in Ottawa and Buffalo. So now in the first of back-to-back games at Boston and at Columbus, I think this is the game that they've got circled. They want to perform well here against a very good Boston team. So I look for the champs to regain focus here. This is a team with superior talent, and as I mentioned, they're off back-to-back final appearances. So they've got a lot of playoff experience with them, and we expect the veterans to keep this club focused. Boston sits 2-1 on the season. The victories have been over Montreal and Los Angeles. In the next 2 weeks, they face, in order, Florida, Colorado, Utah, Nashville, Dallas, and Toronto. A brutal set of games of proven winners and upstart contenders here as Nashville and Utah have gotten off to pretty decent starts, and we're expecting a lot, especially out of this Nashville team. So while you can never underestimate a Boston hockey club, this year's edition is likely taking a step back. When you look at the preseason point projections, Boston set at 98.5. Florida at 103.5. We get the better team off of 2 poor contests at an underdog price. And even without Barkov and Tkachuk, I still think this line is a bargain. We're getting anywhere close to 130 now with Florida off 2 straight losses. I like Florida here against Boston. I think Boston steps back this year. They just don't have as much talent as they've done in the past. You know, your normal hockey's very much like baseball, where you've got a home advantage. Last year, home teams finished 100 games over 500, which is basically 3 games per team, which is like a 22-19 record. Boston, as good as they were last year, even in a down season, lost 17. So this home advantage is not as strong for Boston as it has been in the past. Give me Florida, plus this number is a nice underdog play on Monday.
So, Bryan, I haven't seen a lot and when it comes to early start NHL games. Is there, when we talk about getaway day games in baseball, we're always looking at unders. Is there anything that we look at in general for early start NHL games? Are there a lot of them? Because this starts at 10 a.m. here on the left coast, an hour from now. Are there a lot of these? I'm not used to seeing daytime hockey on a Monday.
Yeah, it's very much like the NBA does, and for Thanksgiving. This is a Columbus situation here a Columbus Day celebration in the United States. I believe it's Thanksgiving in Canada too. So you don't see it very often. As long as the team isn't playing a night game and they follow it up with a day game, I don't think it makes much difference. I read a lot of things like that from various writers, and I haven't really seen anything. So I don't expect that to make much of a difference here.
Yeah, I was going to say, before you think that the Canadians love Columbus Day more than the Americans for some reason, it is, I believe, Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving. So we do see some early NHL games. And Brian's cat is celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving. He is hungry. Feed that cat. He wants some turkey.
He
I don't know what
loves
they eat
the
in
dogs,
Canada.
and he's been very good. Anytime I give out an underdog play and he's talking, it's got a great record.
That's true.
I don't know if that's anything to that. I'm not going to make that up, but it's been pretty good in the past.
Well, I mean, it's been great on the baseball show because Bryan and I did a lot of Friday baseball shows, and when the cat was barking, the dogs were barking. When the cat was meowing, the dogs were barking was the correlation. A lot of the viewers in the live chat came to realize. We'll see if it holds up for the ice hockey season. By the way, Andrew McInnis will be on in about 25 minutes. He's going to have another daytime game between the Kings and Senators at 1 o'clock Eastern, which would be a 10 a.m. Pacific start for the LA Kings. So we'll ask him about that one in a moment. Bryan, a lot of college football. You know, last week we started with the Tuesday, Wednesday Conference USA games, and we've got even several of them. We got 3 games tomorrow. You're looking at one right now. Ross Benjamin is going to be on in a few minutes looking at a different one. We're also going to have a lot of free play solo videos here. So click subscribe and hit that bell as well so you never miss the weeknight free college and pro football videos here on the channel. And you want to look at one for tomorrow on Tuesday, Bryan. And this one is going to be one of the games on Tuesday night, one of the 3, as I mentioned. We're talking about Louisiana Tech at New Mexico State, and you actually think a first-half play on this one is the best way to go.
Yeah, I do. We've got a lot of midweek games, not a lot of them with a lot of national excitement, and this is one of them. But I think we see some value here. How often do we see teams that are not used to being a sizable favorite, and they come out and just don't know how to win in that environment? And this is something that we saw this last Saturday, and we'll see it again hopefully on Tuesday. As Louisiana Tech has 2 victories on the season. They beat FCS Nicholls State 25-17, and then their other win last week against Middle Tennessee State 48-21. Not a very good Middle Tennessee State team, and both of those games were at home. If you take a look at what they've done on the road at NC State, they scored 20. And they also went to Florida International and lost that game, scoring just 10 points. Louisiana Tech can't run the football. This is one of the worst running teams in college football. They're only making 3.3 yards per carry against questionable competition. So it's hard to back them in that regard, especially in the first half when you're just trying to go through and stick to your game plan in that regard. So I just can't see this club putting up enough points on the road to cover this number. The current number is 6, with New Mexico State playing as the underdog at +6. They're not a good football team, but they are better than what this line suggests. They got bombed last week, 54-13 at Jacksonville State. So nobody is going to want any part of this 1-5 squad here. And you know me, I love those dogs that nobody else wants. And that's exactly why I think we have value here on this unwanted home underdog. The weakness for the Aggies is in the passing game. The other team has just been smoking them in the passing game. That makes them vulnerable with deficits in the second half. They're not able to come back because they don't pass the ball very well, and the other teams do. This is why we think the host is very good in the first half here. I don't want it for the full game because if it gets out of hand, they don't have a way to come back on them. And so we'll play them in the first half. We'll play the better running team in the first half at +6 playing at home.
So we all over the years develop quote unquote rules. First, what we like to do and what we don't like to do. And one of my rules, it goes for college sports, not because you can make money betting bad teams in the NBA. Sometimes you can make money betting bad teams in the NFL sometimes. But in college football, I really try hard not to put my money on bad teams. New Mexico State's a bad team. All right. You talked about that they can't throw the football. Well, if you say what their weakness is, they gave up 54 to Jacksonville State, 50 to New Mexico in their last home game, 48 to Fresno. I'd say their weakness is on the defensive side of the football. Here's a bad team with a bad defense. Really?
Well, you've got to pick a game, and the line is 6 for a reason. This is early in the week, and this was the best thing I could put out at this time. Will this be a play for my clients? No. This is not a play for my clients. Like I said, I only had one NFL game yesterday and only had a couple of college football last week. I'm not going to give this out for clients, but I've seen enough of these teams like Louisiana Tech here that should not be laying this type of number, and I want to get on that. I want to play bad teams off a real bad performance where nobody wants them. I got that here with the Aggies, and that's what we're going to use here for New Mexico State in the first half.
And if it makes you feel better, there are some 6.5s out there also. But yeah, we don't have that key number of 7 quite yet, so we'll see. But a lot of books don't have the first half line, so this is 6.5
Right.
in a couple spots, 10.5 for the game. Public could bump it to 7, probably not likely, but something to keep an eye on. Bryan, Leonard, hockey, football, little baseball remaining, basketball around the corner. What else you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, the hockey game I gave you, Florida. That's my only play for clients today. I do have a team total in the Monday Night Football game. Unlike a lot of guys who put out Monday Night Football plays every single week, I don't do that. I've got to have something special for that, and I do think we have a nice team total there. But there is baseball playoff action, and I've got a big 5% play going in Major League Baseball today. 5% in baseball and hockey have been great over the years. In fact, number one on the website in the career in NHL net profit, also in Major League Baseball net profit. I know that Tokyo Brandon does other Korean and Japanese baseball and basketball stuff. He's fantastic in it. But in Major League Baseball, Johnny in Detroit says I'm number one in history in net profit there. So we got a big 5% going in playoff baseball today. And save some money and grab that right now. And you won't have to buy the Florida play because you already got it.
Bryan Leonard, WagerTalk.com. And Bryan buried the lead, man. A big 5% play in the MLB playoffs. And we're not covering the playoffs here today. We got 2 of them, 4 o'clock, Mets, Dodgers, 7 o'clock Eastern, Indians, Guardians, whatever you want to call them, Guardians, Yankees. So once again, check out Bryan's big baseball play for Monday, WagerTalk.com. We're going to have Ross Benjamin in a couple moments breaking down that Monday night football game between the Bills and Jets. Also another advanced Tuesday college football game. Andrew McInnis also talking some daytime NHL around the corner. But Teddy, we got to get to one of the big stories. Favorites did quite well yesterday on Sunday in the NFL, and I have a feeling that's going to be part of your bad beats, bad bets, bad for the book segment that you have here every Monday.
Of course, we're talking playoff baseball today before we get into bad beats, bad bets, bad for books. Let's not bury it. My big game breakdown, which I didn't get a chance to talk about at the open. I'll talk about it right now. Yes, we'll be talking about some MLB playoff baseball. I'll break down the Yankees and Guardians.
There we go.
Game 1 for you before this show is through. That being said, now let's talk a little bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. A recap of what just happened this past weekend in football. And you better believe there were some beats. Oh, yeah. Friday night, there was a couple of them. UNLV, they're up 41-7 at the half against Utah State. Complete domination. Game was over before halftime. Did they cover minus 19? No, they did not. Tough if you had UNLV in that ball game. Friday night also, Northwestern, Maryland. The total is about 45.5, 46 in that ball game. Northwestern finished the game with 10 first downs and 286 total yards. But they got a defensive touchdown, and then not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 scores in garbage time of the fourth quarter. The last one got them to 37-10 final. Game sneaks over the total by a point. Oh, that was tough if you had the under in that one. How about Akron plus 9.5 at Western Michigan on Saturday? They led 17-0, and then there was a hailstorm delay. And then there was 4 turnovers. And then there was a missed field goal on the final drive that would have cut the lead to 7. 34-24 final after a 4-hour delay. The game went 55-plus minutes. If you had Akron, that sucked. Ole Miss -4. I don't know. They were the right side. LSU never led. They scored the game-tying touchdown on 3rd and long with 27 seconds left, and the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Tough if you had Ole Miss. I don't know if that was truly a bad beat. This was a bad beat. Marshall +1. They led 23-3 going into the fourth quarter at Georgia Southern. It's still, under 7 minutes to play. Marshall's up 23-3, and then they get called for intentional grounding in their own end zone. Now it's 23-5. Then they allow a touchdown on 4th and 10. No 2-point conversion. It's still 23-11, but the opposing quarterback just got hurt. Georgia Southern quarterback got hurt. Now there's a backup QB. What happens? The next 2 drives, Marshall fumbles deep in their own territory. Touchdown makes it 23-18. Another touchdown makes it 24-23. Final touchdown coming with just a minute left. 2 fumbles deep in their own territory. 23-3 lead. Doesn't cover. Marshall +1. Brutal push. The NFL, I mean, there was only one that I saw during the day yesterday, but it was a bad one. Philly, minus what? 5.5, minus 6 in the first half. The Eagles are cruising. They're up 10-3. They're down to the Browns 31. It's 3rd and 1 with 32 seconds left. You're laying 5.5 in the first half. And Philly calls timeout. There's no scenario where Cleveland covers first half except a sack on 3rd down and then a blocked field goal on 4th down, returned for a Browns touchdown. Brutal for Philly backers. Just brutal. The Giants weren't much better last night. I didn't enjoy this one at all. They had a red zone turnover, then a missed field goal, then they were stopped in 4th and short. And it's still a 10-7 game. They're still covering by the hook. The Bengals just trying to run out the clock. They convert on 3rd and 12. The Giants burn their timeouts. All you need is 1 first down. Oh, they fumble. 4 Giants have a chance to recover. None of them do. And then Chase Brown explodes and doesn't slide down at the 1 like a veteran would. He scores the touchdown. Bengals win by 10. F Chase Brown, by the way. Not happy with that guy today. That was a beat if you had the G-men. When it comes to bad bets, let's see. North Carolina, the wise guys are betting on a sinking ship. Georgia Tech was bet from -6 down to -3.5. They won the game by 7. Another ACC bad bet. NC State took a ton of money from +5 to pick. They lost by a touchdown in Syracuse in a game they trailed pretty much wire to wire. Illinois bet from -17.5 to as high as -23 against Purdue. They did have a 24-point lead at one point in that game. They blew it, and they were lucky to win in overtime by a single point. Books got to keep all that Illinois money. Bad bets. It was all Jags money in London yesterday, +1.5 to -2 at the close. Bears blew them out. That was a bad bet. And somebody out there took out all the Patriots +7 worldwide. Don't know who it was. It wasn't me. Drove the line down to Houston -6.5. Well, the Texans won by 20. The New England money. Bad bets. Bad for the books. Well, it was Wisconsin money before kickoff at Rutgers, +3 down to +1. Pick 'em. The Badgers blew them out 42-7. Texas money against Oklahoma. Longhorns -14 to -17. They won by 31. Every dollar in USC Penn State on the total was on the over. 48.5 up to 52. That went 33-30 in overtime. Same story, Ohio State, Oregon. Although books didn't mind the Oregon winning, the Ducks winning outright, they did lose on that total. That was bad for the books. Steve Merrill mentioned it just a few moments ago. It was the single worst NFL Sunday of the season for the books. These happen in October when the favorites cover. And we saw favorites of -3 or higher go 8-1-1 against the spread. Eagles lost, Ravens pushed. And 9-3-1 to the over. So all the favorites covered and all the overs hit, and that's a bad combo for the books. Washington-Baltimore landing right on 7 wasn't great for the house. The line bounced between 6.5 and 7 all week. No matter which side you had in that game, you're supposed to either win or push. There was lots and lots and lots of Bucks money after the Saints injury report, and Derek Carr listed it out. New Orleans from -3 to +3.5. They lost by 24 and gave up a 50 burger. And the Steelers money all week against the Raiders. Pittsburgh was on all the parlay cards. Pittsburgh blew them out 32-13. Those were particularly bad results on what was an ugly Sunday for the books here in Las Vegas. There you have it. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Yeah, not surprisingly, when it's that big of a favorite Sunday, the public did quite well. In fact, the public had not turned a profit the first 4 weeks, and they've won back-to-back weeks now. So we'll see how Week 7 goes. I'll have my NFL Fade the Public video this weekend for Week 7, but you can still catch the Monday Night Football analysis because that is a very public play this week, Teddy. The favorites went 3-0 yesterday. You mentioned Steelers. Falcons were another one, and also those Texans. That was not public money coming in on New England +7. I'll tell you that much. That was some sharp somebody that thought they were sharp, at least, back in the god-awful Patriots. And New England, I believe, by the way, is now 1-11 straight up their last 12 home games on top of that. But the Bills are a public play tonight, so we'll see if the sportsbooks take it on the chin again. The Bengals were a semi-public play last night on Sunday. The 2 public dogs did fail to cover. Of course, when all the favorites are covering, that happens. That was Commanders and also the Broncos. So public gave a little bit back in those 2 scenarios. Hey, speaking of the Monday Night Football game, standalone videos here on the channel, so hit subscribe, hit that bell for instant alerts. But we're going to get to it right now with Ross Benjamin as well. And Ross, we're getting warmed up for our one Canadian today, Andrew McInnis, who's coming in on Canadian Thanksgiving, but you qualify as a semi-Canadian. You're right near the border there, and you also are pretty close to Buffalo, New York for that reason. So I think it's very appropriate you're talking the Bills Monday night game. And so I did a solo video on this game, and some people had chimed in the comments today and said, hey, look, this line has dropped from 2.5 down to 1. Do we look point spread or do we start looking money line? Because, that key number 3 is not coming into play now. And you've actually got that answer, my friend. Point spread or money line on this game now.
Yeah, let me preface this play. We talked about these Monday night and standalone games last week. And if you can't justify, if you put this game on the Sunday card, would you use it? And my answer is an unequivocal no, I would not use it. So having said that, I'll do my best here. And I am nowhere near a Canadian, but thank you for that, Eddie Haskell. Anyway, Theodore, by the way, Kentucky and Syracuse, I want to know your power ratings as of this week. Let's get to the game at hand. Buffalo and the Jets. This comes down to the lesser of two evils right now. And it's a hard thing to say because normally when you're talking about the lesser of two evils, you're talking about two teams that are dismal. Well, they have been dismal in their last two games. Buffalo off to a 3-0 start. They lose their last two. Last week, they almost stole one at Houston, but a last-second 58-yard field goal beat them. They got blown out by Baltimore. The Jets coming off a 10-9 home loss to Denver, and then they go to Europe, and they lose last week to Minnesota 23-17, turned the ball over 3 times. And then Robert Saleh shows up for work on Monday, and he gets escorted out by security because he's now fired. In any event, talk about the Jets right now. It's just, to me, logically, guys, with the money, I would ordinarily lean toward the Jets. And this has nothing to do with me being from the Buffalo area. But the bottom line is it's a disheveled franchise right now. And Buffalo, again, they've lost the last 2. But here's the thing, guys. Buffalo has not lost 3 straight regular season games since the 2019-2020 season. As a matter of fact, they're 6-0 in their last 6 off back-to-back losses, and that stems all the way back to 2020, 2021. And very important when I look at a stat like that is the fact it's all under the same head coach in Sean McDermott. The Jets, they're 0-3 this year versus teams that are with a win percentage that are currently 500 or above. Buffalo 3-0 this year against teams that are currently with a losing record, winning those games decisively. So again, I just have to go by my gut here more than anything else. Buffalo's been very good off back-to-back losses. The Jets right now, they got rid of, on top of everything else, they got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. And Todd Downing is now going to be their play caller and interim head coach. I just don't like this current situation for the Jets. I'm going to have a small lean here on Buffalo on the money line, -118 over the Jets.
So many questions to ask here. But let's just start with a simple one. Coach getting fired theory. Monday Night Football. I mean, isn't this the one game that the Jets are actually supposed to step up and play good?
From all accounts, other than Aaron Rodgers' argument with Saleh, he was a very well-liked head coach. So if it was a guy that they couldn't wait to get out the door and they have a new lease on life and an interim head coach that's a popular guy, and I don't know that not to be the case with Todd Downing, I would say yes, okay? But, this is a team that's been disheveled for quite a while right now, meaning the franchise in general. And this is a very controversial move. I mean, we're 5 games into the season. Their defense has been very good. Their offense hasn't been. Saleh was just getting ready to fire Nathaniel Hackett this week as the offensive coordinator. And lo and behold, he didn't get a chance to do so. And they sent him out the door. And now Hackett was demoted. I don't know why you just don't let the guy go. I don't know how Nathaniel Hackett keeps getting jobs as offensive coordinators and head coaches. It's got to be because of his old man, I guess. But in any event, Teddy, I thought of that angle, but looking at the broader scope, I had to the things that I mentioned far outweigh that coaching change and how a team responds.
Yeah, and Teddy talked about this game last week here on WagerTalk Today. I mean, it's, you fire the head coach. I've always said you can't fire the whole staff and roster, but in this case, you could have fired the OC instead. I mean, you had a defensive-minded head coach, and the problem wasn't the defense. So it was a little strange to me. We'll see how it plays out, and we'll see if there is a spark tonight for the New York Jets. And once again, this line has gone from 2.5 down to 1, yet the public is on the Bills tonight. So we'll see how this one turns out at 8:15 Eastern on ESPN and ABC. All right, Ross, we got 3 college football games tomorrow on Tuesday. We had 1 last week. Now we got 3. They're not messing around in Conference USA. Bryan Leonard just broke down that La Tech New Mexico State game. That, by the way, tomorrow night is on ESPNU. You're going to look at the spotlight game, Troy, South Alabama on the Deuce, ESPN2 tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern. What are you doing with this one?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at these 3 games, this is the best of the bunch, right? So South Alabama opened at a 13.5-point favorite. They're down to 11. I'm going to concentrate on the total here, Steve, which is 56.5. In 5 games versus FBS opponents, and I emphasize FBS because the one game they won 87-10 against Northwestern State, I'm throwing that out the window. So 5 games against FBS opponents, they're averaging a little over 26 points per game. And that's a little bit of a deceiving number considering the fact they're averaging 435 yards a game in total offense. So usually a number like that will get you closer to averaging 30 points per game than 26 in this particular instance. Their defense leaves a lot to be desired in those 5 games versus FBS opponents. The Jaguars are allowing 30.6 points per game and 483 yards a game in total defense. Yet they're 4-1 to the under. And the bottom line is they played 5 games against FBS opponents. 4 of them had totals of 60 or more. Their average total in those 5 games, 61.2 and 57 points per game scored. This total here is 56.5. Very important because you got to do the math sometime. Troy has allowed 211 yards or more in rushing in 4 of their 5 games versus FBS opponents. They lost last week 38-17 to Texas State, but they did throw for 268 yards last week against Texas State, and they're going to be facing the South Alabama team over their last 3 games that has allowed 347 yards on average per game passing. So I think that we'll see Troy being able to move the ball. I think South Alabama has moved the ball all year, and they'll continue to do so. I like the over 56.5 here, Steve, and I'm going to emphasize again because my college football record's been very good. Again, this goes for Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night games. You don't have to bet them, folks, okay? If you can't take this game and put it on the Saturday card and say that this would be one of my best picks of the week, leave it alone. This is strictly an opinion pick from me, but I hope I provided enough for my opinion to be respectful.
It's certainly a respected opinion, Ross. That's why we have you on. And just because I ask you a follow-up question on it doesn't mean I don't respect your opinion about it. That being said,
buddy,
here's your follow-up. All right. Troy, 3 straight unders. 2 of the games they allowed less than 2 touchdowns. South Alabama, 3 straight unders. When they stepped up, when they played other like teams, they gave up 18 to Arkansas State and 14 to App State. The series, nothing but unders in recent meetings. What do we got? I've got the under last year, 20-10, 10-6, 29-0. We've seen a series history that trends to the under. So everything's trending under with these squads. Does any of that worry you?
No, and Teddy, it's never personal, buddy. You actually made me feel bad because when I argued with you the last time on this, we're entertaining too, folks. So I love you, man. Anyway.
Don't feel bad, dude. It's fine.
Having said all that, these head-to-head matchups in college football in past years mean very little to me these days, especially when we get into these non-Power 4 conference games or Group of 5, as they call them now, because if anybody's any good the year before on any of these Group of 4 teams or Group of 5 teams, they're getting an NIL deal the following year, and very, very few stick around. So my point being is there's a lot of changeover in personnel. Having said that, I do think when you look at some of these low-scoring games, the yardage gained in those games were not indicative of the points that were scored. And that's what I'm looking at. And that's a reason why you're seeing a team like South Alabama, who's had 60 or more as their total in 4 or 5 games against FBS opponents, and now they're down to 56.5. And South Alabama, even though Troy has struggled offensively, I'm just looking at South Alabama's defensive numbers, and they can make a team like Troy look pretty good offensively, in my opinion. And I'm not asking for much for Troy, 21 to 24 points in this game. And I think South Alabama get their good share. Something around a 35-24 game here, Teddy, is what I would predict.
Ross Benjamin, and he is talking college football. You might want to listen up. You know, Ross, you and I did a lot of NBA solo videos in the spring, and I know we were going back and forth 1 and 2 different number one rankings. But, you know, if you look right now at college football, it's you and I head-to-head again, my friend, which I'd love to see. Just the last 30 days alone, 76% for myself, 71% for you in college football. So, you know, these might not be games we're using, but our insight is still pretty valuable because we're seeing college football really well. And like Ross said, these might not make our best bet card, but that doesn't mean you can't treat them as like a 1% fun bet right on TV for these weeknight games, you know, as opposed to one of our 4% best bets or whatnot. So, Ross, you're seeing it great. You'll be doing some free play videos throughout the week here. So hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts, and let us know what else you have going on at WagerTalk.com.
Well, I'm passing today, folks. I don't like either baseball game. I can't get in front of I can't step in front of a Dodger team that's off 3 shutout wins in a row, although I think the Mets have a decisive advantage with the starting pitching matchup. Don't like the Cleveland Yankees game at all, and I don't like the Monday night game good enough to make it a premium paid selection. I'm not betting it. I'm not giving it to my premium clients. But yes, 108-72 off a 3-2 week in college football, plus 91-72, and that's all the way back since 12-2-2022, 22-11 run in all sports, 18-7 run in college football and the NFL combined, 7-2-1 in the NFL the last 3 Sundays, and 19-7-1 in college football the last 5 Saturdays. So a lot of good stuff there, folks. And right now you can get, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, we're running a special right now. You can get the rest of the college football season from any one of us, including myself, for $2.99. So you want to take a look and take advantage of those offers. And like the Prez says, Steve, you have that unique ability to take something and turn it into your own sales pitch. I noticed that. I just noticed it again. Steve gives himself a little bit of accolades.
I won't mention your 71% college football run anymore if it upsets you. It's okay.
I would have mentioned it.
I'll just mention my 76% college football run instead.
I'm teasing you. I don't want you to be like Teddy and think I want to go through the screen and choke him like he alluded to. That would never be the case. Yeah.
And I'm disappointed that you will not be on Trash Talk Tuesday with us tomorrow, so I'll get one in now. We had to get Ross on a day earlier just to make sure we got him on.
Can I ask one more question, Steve? One more question. Teddy, you know, I went 3-2 on Saturday in college football. I made a slight profit because guess what? I had a 4% top play winner on Kentucky. Your loving Kentucky team that you had ranked number 30 on your power sheet. And we went back and forth with Kentucky and Syracuse, and you got the upper hand initially. But where do you have those 2 teams ranked right now? I'm just curious.
You've asked me that multiple times. Ross, we're out of time for the show for you right now. I got to do big game breakdown. We got to be off the air in 10 minutes, so I'm not going to look up where I have the numbers right now. At the time, I was right. And 3 weeks later, who cares? Yeah.
Understood.
Ross Benjamin, always great to see you. By the way, Ross, 3-1. My only loss was Kentucky Saturday. If that makes you feel any better. So we're seeing things pretty good, I think. So maybe we were on the right side in that game since we're crushing it in college football. Teddy, big game breakdown. I forgot I had so many notes here. I forgot you do have baseball. I've got a best bet of that Mets-Dodgers game for clients. But, Teddy, you're looking at the daytime afternoon game at 4 Eastern between the Guardians and Yankees. We're actually at the nighttime game. I'm sorry. I've got the day game. You've got the night game right now. Big game breakdown. I'm all confused.
Yeah, well, I've got the Mets-Dodgers game for the clients today, 6-0 MLB playoff run, 78% since the start of the postseason. So it's been a pretty good October so far in MLB action. Of course, before I talk about the Yankees and the Guardians, I do want to, this is the last time I'm going to talk about this because it expires after Monday Night Football tonight. But again, if there's one package, you've been thinking about getting me, there's one package, this is the package to get. 1 year, every play, every day, every sport, $99 a month. You save more than $800 with this package. Just use promo code Teddy365 at checkout, and you'll get every play, every day, in every sport. Don't buy a play, buy a package. Teddy365 at checkout. Again, a 1 full year for just $99 a month. Offer expires after Monday Night Football tonight, so take advantage today if you're going to take advantage. Let's talk about the Yankees and the Guardians right here. And sure, there's something to be said for the starting pitching matchups. Cobb versus Rodon. It's not like Cleveland's hit lefties. Great. Cobb certainly is not a hurler who we're going to trust to go extended innings. But this baseball postseason has not been about starting pitching. I don't expect this to be about starting pitching necessarily either. We talk about these two bullpens. And for the full season, the Guardians bullpen was as good as any in baseball. But you want to talk a bullpen that took a lot. They threw a ton of innings. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, again and again. This is not a fresh pen right now. All right. Their best bullpen arms, I understand that they've had a day off. Their best bullpen arms are still gassed from the last series. The Yankees bullpen arms are great. No concerns in that regard. And when it comes to these two lineups, the Yankees have the more potent lineup, and they've been really good at finding ways to get on base. Look at the series against Kansas City. The Royals, 37 strikeouts, 7 walks. The Yankees, 28 strikeouts, 27 walks. Their patience at the plate is a significant and legitimate difference maker. And when we're talking about the little edges that you find in series, I like the Yankees bullpen today. I like the Yankees lineup today. Minus 160. I think it's reasonable. Very reasonable, especially with Rodon on the hill. And I said it's not about starting pitching. Rodon's one guy who I think matches up well with Cleveland. That's why he started game 1. Bronx Bombers or pass? There's your big game breakdown. Teddy365 at checkout will get you that $99 a month all access pass for the next year if you want to get on board. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Teddy covers, and you can see him in 22 minutes doing opening line report live here on WagerTalk TV. And, of course, all these shows and videos are archived 365, 24/7. If you don't catch them live, no shame. Hit subscribe, hit that bell for instant alerts. Thumbs up, like, and comment below because we read all the comments and we reply back. And let's finish off the show here on Canadian Thanksgiving with an actual Canadian, Andrew McInnis. And Andrew, you got a game that starts in about 20 minutes, so just give us a quick take on that and then dive into something else maybe on the nighttime card, my friend.
Great to be here with you guys. Yeah, that was a mistake on my part. So excited for the games. I forgot how early that one did drop the puck. So I'm going to say real quick, over 3.5 team total with the Ottawa Senators at a plus 135 price. I love that number you're getting there with the Senators. They added a new goaltender. Their defense is getting better, but I still believe when this Ottawa Senators team wins games, they're going to score goals in bunches. They got a very dangerous top 6 players. Their power play is going to be strong this year, and I love getting that nice plus price against the team in the LA Kings that will be playing their 3rd game of East Coast road trip to start off the season. So that puck drops in 20 minutes, guys. We're going to go over 3.5 team total goals for the Ottawa Senators.
And Andrew, what's something else you're looking at here on the nighttime card? We got a couple other games I know you had lined up as well.
Yeah, definitely here, guys. Detroit Red Wings and New York Rangers going head-to-head here, and we're seeing a hefty price on this New York Rangers team. No doubt about that. But when you look at this matchup in particular, what I want to isolate is the first period here in this one. We've got a Rangers team that, they're not really off to the best start. They kind of got humbled in their game against the Utah Hockey Club, giving up 5 goals against them. Their first game against the year, nothing to write home about. But I think this is a game they're going to be laser focused in. And I think Detroit's defense is kind of in question. They're going to be very inconsistent. Their first game, You got a ton of goals, 6 goals against Pittsburgh. Second game, a shutout victory for them against Florida, I believe. So to me, this is a team that's going to have their challenges. They're going to have a good game and then a bad game. And when I look at this New York Rangers club and the fact they're playing at home MSG, the plus 135 for the minus a half goal in the first period is the best bet. You're turning a game that's north of minus 220 at some spots on the money line and finding the ability to get plus money in the first period. And that's what it's going to come down to. For them to have a really good start to this game, I feel like they're going to catch Detroit flat-footed in this one. And the first period minus a half goal, getting plus money is certainly the way to go into this game.
So part of the reason why I wasn't the number one handicapper in the NBA at WagerTalk last year is because I got off to a 2-10 start. And part of the reason I got off to a 2-10 start, and I was so frustrated, you have no idea. Made me crazy. The rest of the year was fine. We made a bunch of money, and we had a good year all set. But I started off crappy. And I started off crappy in part because I was expecting good teams to fall into regular season form fairly quickly. So the Rangers haven't played well. All right. And the Rangers are a good team, but their focus is on April and May and June. Their focus isn't on winning a regular season game in October. What makes you confident they come out today and play with focus?
You know what? It's a really good question. And I love the way you phrase that because we're seeing that right now across the league, Teddy. Colorado, 0-2. Edmonton, 0-3. Edmonton was just in the Stanley Cup Finals, man. And all of a sudden, they look like a pretty bottom-feeding team. So you're right. But this is a Rangers team, and I was wrong. I got the things mixed up. They won their first game in dominant fashion against Pittsburgh. Second game is where they gave up 5 goals against Utah. So I feel like the fact that they got humbled in game 2 against the Utah team that, you know, people thought they'd be better than last year when they were the Arizona Coyotes, but didn't think they'd be that good. Giving up 5, I feel like they're going to be focused. And I think the fact that they're at home, they get that last change. They're playing a Detroit team that I think is good offensively, but will most likely struggle defensively on a night-to-night basis, especially against a team as deep as the Rangers are. And Teddy, you know, who's to say they put together a full 3-period effort? This is why I love the first period angle, the minus a half goal, plus 135. You know, Steve, I know you're not about laying too much chalk, and the fact that you can turn a minus 200 favorite into a plus 135 is really the way to go in this one. So that's my answer, and I get it. You know, you want to be careful with those teams. And, you know, you mentioned, Teddy, and for me, last year I got off to a real tough start in the NHL, guys. And this year, and I've talked about it a few times in the show, so, you know, there's so many games I like every day. I put so much work in the NHL. I've released 10 plays so far this season. You know, and I loved a lot on Thursday. I loved a lot on Saturday. I loved a lot on Sunday. 2, maybe 3 plays max per day for me. We're 8-2, 80% plus 18 units to begin the season. So super excited about it. Last year we gave out last week we had a 7-day code for a week. This week we have a 30-day NHL pass coupon code. It's Save 50. Save 50 will take $50 off a 30-day NHL package. You guys are going to get low volume approach. Best bets. We got a 4% going tonight, 2-0 so far on the 4% plays. Save 50 will take $50 off at checkout, my NHL 30-day pass.
And once again, you're already up 18 units, but there is plenty more to come. It is a long hockey season, over half a year remaining. Andrew McInnis, that's a great code. Save 50, Andrew McInnis, WagerTalk.com. And, of course, you can find him on Puck Time a lot of times as well, 11 a.m. Eastern live here. But don't forget, archive 24/7. Hit subscribe, hit that bell for instant alerts, but you can also watch the replays here on Wager Talk TV. Thumbs up, like, if you're finding the content useful. Comment below. We read the comments and we reply back. And don't forget, opening line report up here in 15 minutes. Teddy and I both have best bets in baseball for Monday, and there's plenty of football coming up later this week as well. So check out our pages, also those daily free plays at WagerTalk.com. And Teddy, you'll get a well-deserved rest day tomorrow on Tuesday after the opening line report this afternoon, and you'll be back on Wednesday with the Prez. And I'll be here tomorrow on Tuesday with the Prez for the newly inscribed Trash Talk Tuesday, as we have a little bit of fun before we get more serious on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Take us home, my friend.
Yeah, I can't handle Trash Talk Tuesday. I can't even handle Ross Benjamin throwing stuff at me, let alone you guys.
He's tough. New Yorkers.
That's going to wrap it for the Monday edition of Wager Talk Today. Like Steve said, we'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you back east. Stay tuned on the WagerTalk YouTube channel and of course, all the other places where you download or consume WagerTalk videos. The NFL opening line report coming up at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock on Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Between now and tomorrow's WagerTalk Today, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your bets.